banana singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McKeown, your ever-beloved hostess, and guess who we have today? Well, to start the show, and maybe to finish the show, depending on how long this goes, we have Joel Shedd, raised in Fairfax on a dairy farm. Yes. My kind of guy. Anyway, you never know who's going to stay in my Airbnb, but I have been so lucky this week, blessed if you will, to have you and your wife here.
Well, thank you. We're blessed as well to be here.
You've had quite a life.
Yes.
And a most amazing life.
Yes, it's been.
Listen to this. He's been everywhere, done everything, but he's a chef. And so tell me a little bit.
Sure.
You told me about the culinary arts, and then you told me about some of the people for whom you cooked. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, it started at the age of 2, believe it or not. My mother gave me a paring knife, a Cutco paring knife with the tip off from it. She was always around me cooking, so and inspired me, and we're always watching Julia Child and many other famous cooks on TV. And I had a grandmother who raised 11 kids at our dairy farm in Fairfax, and she made everything from scratch, and just like my mother, not only food, but our clothes and everything. And
what got you into cooking?
So it was probably my mother and my grandmothers inspired me, and Julia Child, who later I ended up cooking for her.
Talk about that.
Yes. Okay.
Everybody, I'm sorry, I think I said Fairfield. I meant Fairfax.
Fairfax, yes.
Sorry, there's a big difference.
No,
don't ever tell
right.
Someone from Franklin County they're from Fairfield if they're from Fairfax. I'm really sorry.
That's fine. So, well, after being inspired by my mother and grandparents and famous chefs on TV. At age 13, I started working in St. Albans at the Open Hearth restaurant, which is no longer there, the building is. So I started doing dishes and prep work, and I got more inspired and kept with it for over almost 28 years.
And you know what's amazing?
Yeah.
When you and Sabrina showed up, I thought they're in their late 20s as a max. And you got the correct genes, sir.
Yeah, it's got to be that Franklin County water or the French Canadian blood that's mixed in me. I'm a mutt.
Well,
some
yeah.
English blood too, I guess.
Yeah, well, you can't count that.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
Anyways,
so
yes.
You went out from St. Albans to join the big world after you graduated from the Culinary Arts School.
Yes.
Who did you do you did an internship.
I did an internship. My first in high school, I took a vocational class for 2 years, culinary. And again, it just gave me a little more foundation for eventually becoming a chef. Then after high school, I went to New England Culinary in Montpelier. Jumping back, I also worked in a restaurant in Fairfax. It was called Vacutech. So we did prepared food for Nestle of Canada and American Foods and some other big companies. So we would go and had our own packaging line, freeze those, ship them out to these companies. And 2 former New England Culinary grads kind of honed my skills there before tell me which branch of New England Culinary to go to, and they said, well, if you want to do banquet style, go to Essex, or if you want like fine dining, sit down French style cuisine, then go to Montpelier. So I went to Montpelier. You do 6 months. It's a 2-year course, unless you wanted to go and do the bachelor course, but I did the 2-year course, 6 months in Montpelier, and then you do a 6-month internship, which I did my first one in Newtown, Connecticut, at this place called Pasta Fresca. And
that sounds like a Connecticut name. It's like how officious can we be, and how nouveau riche can we stand?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead. I have a thing for Connecticut. It's not good. Sorry.
I was 6 months there for the internship, working at their restaurant and also in the same location. They had a pasta shop in Delhi where I got to learn how to make pasta from scratch. It's pretty basic, but really good pasta, and worked on some different marinades and salads and stuff, Italian. And then went back to New England Culinary for another 6 months, and then I did my second one in Beacon Street in Brookline, and the restaurant in Massachusetts.
Fabulous place to go.
Yes, and I was set up by one of the gentlemen at New England Culinary with this chef, and his name was Paul O'Connell. And at the time, he is one of the top 10 chefs in America, featured in Food and Wine, Food Arts Magazine, Boston Magazine. So I got a place to stay in Cambridge in Emmons Square. The night before, 11:45, the night before I was supposed to leave to Boston. So I didn't really have a place to stay. I was kind of, up in the air. I took a bus down, got to South Station bus terminal, called the chef, and said, "Hey, I'm here." He says, "Okay, well, this is where you need to take a cab to." So I did. And I got there after a 6-hour bus ride from Vermont because they had multiple stops. And we were moving at this location. We're moving out Italian pizza ovens and a lot of their equipment and moving new stuff in. And so I dropped my bags in the restaurant. He said, "Would you like to work today?" This is an internship. So he said, "Yes, chef." You don't want to say no. And, so I worked another 4 hours there and finally got to hang my head at the new place, which was Bubba Chinese Cantonese restaurant, with my first introduction to cockroaches.
Really? How did you serve them? How did you cook them?
It was
chocolate covered?
No, I just let them go on their way. Actually.
Oh,
yes.
We're not talking gastronomic feast.
No.
Oh, my grandfather liked chocolate covered grasshoppers in his time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to try those. Yeah.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyway, and so
Yes.
now you're in Boston.
Yes.
You've got a place to stay. We don't have to go point by point. Just to get to the meat of the matter.
Sure.
Your career has really gone and taken you places.
Yes, and especially at this restaurant, Providence, which started from the ground up. Within 2.5 months of it starting, it became a 3.5-star restaurant. And I guess the reasoning behind why it wasn't 4, because we didn't serve breakfast as well, which didn't make much sense to me, but that's what I was told. But the second week that I was there, the chef grabbed me and said, "Joel, check out who's eating amongst us." And it was, Jacques Papin. So I got to
Jacques
actually
Pepin.
cook
Look
for
him
him.
up. Monsieur Pepin.
Yes.
So you cooked for him.
I ended up cooking. So I was working the garde manger department, and I did desserts as well. And then I would assist and grill every once in a while when time came. So I did end up cooking for him. I don't remember what I did cook for him at that time. And then I think it was a month or two after that, Julia Child came in, and who I've been a fan of since I was knee high. And the manager brought her into the kitchen because the manager told her that I was doing an internship. So I remember it like it was yesterday when she came in. She shook my hand, and I thought I was going to faint because she was such an inspiration. And she just said in her voice,
"Oh,
"Joel, I think it's wonderful that you're going to New England Culinary. Keep up the good work." And it was just amazing. And then time went by at the restaurant. We were doing great. And then we got chosen to go to the James Beard House, which I ended up cooking for Julia again.
Did she remember you?
Oh, yes.
Oh, my
yes.
gosh.
We
She
got
was
standing
such a nice lady.
ovation. And
Oh.
when we, after, I really thought the James Beard House, the equipment would be state of the art and everything. The ovens are going down and other equipment wasn't working so good. We got it going, but it just added a little extra stress to that already stressful dinner. And
well, James Beard. If you're over 50, you probably remember James Beard.
Yes.
But he was an icon.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
I used to have all his cookbooks. I never follow recipes, though. You know.
Right. Same. Yeah.
You don't. I never do. It's a pinch of this and a pinch of that,
Yes.
and what are you going to get? I
Yep.
don't know. You can't even define what I cook, but I'm sure yours is fabulous.
Yeah.
My son is a chef.
Yes.
He called me at the beginning of his 3rd year of engineering at Rensselaer and said, "Mom, I don't want to be an engineer." And I said, "Neither do I."
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you want to be?" He said, "I want to be a chef." I said, "Be a happy chef."
Yeah.
And he's such an artist, and it's given me such an appreciation for the beauty of a meal.
Yes.
Because I just think it's the first time he served me at the Belvedere, which was many, many years ago before, then he left to go somewhere else. He served me South American sea bass.
Sea bass? Chilean sea bass?
Chilean.
Yes.
I knew it was somewhere.
Yes.
Whatever.
Delicious.
Some kind of southern area, Chile.
Yes.
Sea bass, and he put a little beet on top of it, and then
Nice.
something green, and then something colorful, and then something on top.
Like
and
a Napoleon. Yeah.
I don't even
Layer.
know what it was.
Beautiful.
I think it was taller than Napoleon, to tell you the truth. But,
Yeah, true.
I have never. I've told you what I thought about lavender cake.
Yes.
Being the only flavor that is indescribably beautiful. This was also equal to that.
Wow.
And I looked at the presentation and I didn't want to touch it. It was
Right.
so beautiful.
Yes.
And my son came out and he said, "Well, what did you think?" I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Well, Mom, that's a beet." And I said, "It's the first time I've tasted a beet that tastes so fabulous." And,
Yes.
and I just really admire what you and my son do.
Yes. Yeah.
It's an art form.
Maybe one day your son and I will do a collaboration meal for you.
Okay.
All right.
I'll be here. You know where I live, Dave. I'm half a mile from you. Come on
Yes.
over.
Let's do it.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing that you do. And since you no longer work in the chefing industry, because
Yes.
tell me what it's like on your body. Because I'm worried about my
yes.
son. It's hard on his knees. And
Well, knees, your feet, your everything basically. It's very stressful. You're in heat. Going from the hot kitchen to the walk-in freezers, and the long hours, and at the end of the day, you want to take the pain away. So you got to be careful. But you have alcohol at your fingertips. So
did you imbibe?
a little bit, yes.
Yeah, I hear that's going
Yep.
around.
Yeah.
And you were at the right age too.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I've got to say, I worked on my feet as a flight attendant, but never
Yeah.
as stressful as you folks.
Yeah.
The pilot was flying the plane. All I had to do was sit in the back and
Right.
and love the people.
Yes.
I got to be their mommy, and that was a thrill for me. So it wasn't hard work. And people say you're a waitress in the air, and it's so different than being a waitress on the ground.
Oh, yes.
Because on
Yeah.
the ground you don't get a break, and you're constantly moving, and you're carrying heavy things.
Yes.
And as a chef, what is the biggest stressor?
Well, making sure that every meal for my experience and detail was everything, in timing. So you want to make sure the food gets out as quick as possible, but not lacking flavor and presentation. So that was the biggest thing. And then if someone's not happy and you have to refire their food, you got to hold back what you're cooking for other people and then go with the refire. And it's the person that goes in, calls out the meals that are coming in for customers, called the expediter, and it's almost like a conductor of an orchestra. You have to be on the top of your game.
All the time. And that's
All the
8-hour
time.
shifts, 10-hour shifts.
12 to 16 hours, more like it.
Even if you don't own it.
Oh yeah, I was doing 90 hours a week at one restaurant. Yeah, 6.5 days a week. I had a half day off.
Oh, you slacker.
Yeah, right. But you know, it was just a love-hate relationship. You know, I still
And burnout?
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I still cook a lot at home, and I'm getting into smoking foods, salts, hot peppers that I grow, and I'm gonna be coming out with a line of Pepperhead Sheds hot pepper dust. It's gonna cold smoked peppers that
How do you do that?
There's a little technique behind that, but I instead of using a food dehydrator to dry the peppers so it can become a powder, I'll take them, cut them up, exposing the surface, and now able to release the moisture. I put them in an air fryer to dry them. Then once they're dry enough at a low temperature for a while, but quicker than a dehydrator, is I'll put them in a spice grinder and grind them up, and you can use it in rubs, salts, or just sprinkle it over a dish.
Is that right? That will good for you. And you call it what?
Pepperhead Sheds hot pepper dust.
Put that on your business card.
Yes.
Say that 10 times fast with your teeth out. I
Right,
don't think so. Well, when that comes out on the line, I hope you come back.
Oh yes,
And
definitely.
Then, you know, I'd love to have you here.
Yes.
I've got to say, your life in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
And I always leave for my bike ride between 6 and 7 in the morning. It is now, what time is it, please, Sabrina?
Oh gosh, is it around 10?
There's a clock somewhere.
10:07 or something
We've
like that.
been
Yes.
talking for hours,
Yes.
Sabrina, and you and me,
Yeah.
and laughter, because this man is very quick-witted too. You wonder why his brain
Seems
didn't. You wonder why his brain didn't melt in a hot oven, but it didn't. And he's always doing this, and we talked about everything.
Yes.
And may I ask you also about the use of medicinal and the difference between CBD and CBG?
Yes. So there's many different derivatives of the hemp plant, and CBD, which I take nightly, it helps to kind of slow down my
You got a racing
overactive mind. Yes.
Yeah.
And helps ease a little bit with pain that we have from not being in our 20s anymore.
How old do you think this man is? You're wrong. He's in his 50s. I can't
51.
believe it.
Yeah.
51 on Juneteenth, on June
Yes.
19th. And
Yep.
I was so surprised. But it's so important that we talk about the derivatives of the marijuana plant, because I've never tried it. Mm-hmm. I've never tried pot. I've never tried any of the medicinal things.
Yes.
But I couldn't sleep last night because of a certain pain I had in my right leg, which comes every night. And we were talking about pain, and I really think what you do is incredibly good.
Yes.
So now I
Yes.
interrupted you.
Oh no, that's quite fine. Well, there's also CBG derivative of the hemp plant, which is more for inflammation, and then there's CBN, which is pretty much strictly for sleeping. And I've tried all three, and there's more component compounds derived out of the plant, CBDA, CBGA, which are more concentrated, pure form, and they all really do help. So I don't go to a normal doctor, I go to a naturopath. So
I think more people are heading towards that.
yes.
Now, I've talked in my last interview, I don't know, this might not be showing chronologically, but I talked to Dr. Rick Crosby about public health and the information being given, and also the lobbies in Washington who they keep the drug manufacturers right on top and suppress anything natural.
Yes.
And the Native Americans will tell you that the drug professions are not natural and not healthy, and it's too bad what the natives have known all their lives throughout their generational and in their genetic DNA what works for just about every ailment coming from plant sources.
Yes.
And my neighbor Christy Scott is a shaman.
Oh wow.
And I'm so proud of her. Yeah. She knows everything about all of those things. She's still studying, and she's just so phenomenal. Christy Scott on Bluff Road is a shaman, and I wish I could get her on the show, but she's too busy. which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But my mother was an opiate addict from my age of 5. And she died when I was 17, and addicted to opioids,
Yes.
all that time because she had kidney disease. And the first thing they did after her first major surgery when I was 5 was to kill her pain. And you know how quickly a person can become addicted to painkiller, and she needed those painkillers. And she spent 6 months a year in the hospital, and then she'd come out without any painkiller. They'd only give them to her there. So naturally, she absolutely was addicted. And they put her to sleep for, hours and hours and at a time. She's still a wonderful mother, but it destroyed her body. It destroyed her mind in the end.
Yes.
And as any child of an addict knows, that everything is dangerous. So I'm totally paranoid about anything.
Yes.
And I just love what they're doing with all of these natural healing and pain relieving products.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I highly recommend going the natural way, and maybe getting your baby steps and try a little CBD and see what that does for you, because it is natural and it's not mind altering.
No, and you still got up early.
Oh yeah.
And he got up early, and even before coffee, he was talking.
Yes.
And you know what my coffee cup is. I have a 4-cup. Why don't you pick it up, Sabrina, and bring over my coffee cup, please? I think it's over in the sink.
The 4-cup liquid measuring cup.
And yeah, I will. And if you could bring over my very own instant coffee to your direct right by the wall. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
You're about to see how I start my day.
Okay.
And then you'll say, your mother was an addict. What are you?
A caffeine addict.
All right. This is my coffee cup.
Pinkies up.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, and this is my go-to drug. And I'll tell you how to make it. As a chef, you would never have learned.
Okay.
You take 2 heaping tablespoons of instant coffee. You put it in here. Then you add boiling water and some almond milk to cool it, some real milk to give it flavor, and 4 packets of Splenda, so there's just not enough chemical in everybody's day. And that's how I start my day. Forgive me. But now you're a chef and I'm not. My son and my daughter both are fabulous, elegant presenters of good food, and they said it's because you fed us, Mom. So I'm sure, and I'd love it if my son could come over and make me a phenomenal meal with this young man.
Let's do this.
And I just think you and your wife, Sabrina, are fabulous. And isn't it a small world?
It's so small, yes.
One more thing.
I have one thing too.
Go.
Trivia question.
Okay, trivia answer. Ethiopia. Oh, wait, ask the question.
She's psychic. Okay, she answered it. The question was going to be, where on this earth did coffee originate? One place.
Kenya.
Ethiopia.
No kidding! I can't help it.
The Garden of Eden.
Get out.
That's a true story. How did you do that? That's pretty awesome.
No, I've got to tell you.
I'm not worthy. People who that's my favorite coffee, by the way, is Ethiopian Yirgacheffe region. Yes.
I didn't know that, and I didn't know what you were going to ask, but
how?
If you're watching this and you know me, and the people at JetBlue will
be careful
tell you,
so you can get in your mind.
It's something I was born with, and it's something my grandfather built and had. I think my son and daughter have it to a certain degree, but
intuition.
It's simply what it is it's kind of intuitive, and some people call it magic.
Yeah.
And at JetBlue, the reason I loved being a flight attendant so much is that I could read the people who came on and know what they needed intuitively. And Susan Sikowski, who's now a phenomenal kosher baker, hi Susan, in another state, you know all about this because you and I had our conversation about it when your brother passed away. And all I can say is I'm really glad I've got it, but I have to be careful not to blurt. Because if I know something, you might not want me to know it. Mm-hmm. And it's not weird. Everybody has this to a certain degree, but because it's so frightening to some people, they suppress it. Some with drinking, some with drugs, some with denial, some with isolation.
Yeah.
And another thing about being somewhat intuitive,
Yes.
this should not be about me, but maybe you have this too. For every hour I spend with people, I have to spend from 2 to 4 hours away from people because everything comes drawing in.
Yes.
And I love it because I love people. And every night when I pray for 3 things like this. I say, grant me 3 kinds of love. And one of them is unconditional. And there's deserved, there's unconditional, and there's another one, but I can't, it's not dark out, so I can't remember what it is. No, and I pray for the unconditional love because sometimes you feel people to such a degree, and it's not just blurting out the word Ethiopia because it's true. It's also what they're giving out just as humans. And you have to wrap your arms around that figuratively and bring them into you with love. And so you have to protect yourself when you're out in the real world because it can be very exhausting. So so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And now you know.
So have you ever had Ethiopian coffee?
No.
You must sometime. It's very good, and usually it's roasted lighter as I
lighter has more caffeine.
The lighter the roast, the more the caffeine.
Who
the
knew?
darker the roast, the caffeine gets burnt out, if you will. Yes, cooked out. But so I did work after cooking for 27 and a half years, let's say. Then I went changed courses and went to Green Mountain when it was still Green Mountain, and then stayed through the Keurig merge, and then Keurig Dr. Pepper, and then I left after 8 years there, and I ran the K-Cup machines, and then went to hand-selected coffee processing.
And then you were one of the only 2 people
flavoring
who went into the
specialist.
flavoring specialist.
At the start, there's many more now, but I also did sweet and creamy. They called it their coffee line. It was a sweetened flavored powder blend that got blended into the coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that this is not impressive to you.
Oh, I actually don't really care for flavored coffee. I like it unadulterated.
This would be a flattery to say it had any
Straight
flavor
coffee,
at all. But I buy, it's store brand
worked.
classic roast tostado.
Hey, it did the trick. After 2 cups, my eyes are wide open.
And after 4, I'm getting there.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Anyway, I think
Yes.
you're wonderful. I hope you come back, especially when you start your multi-word pepper line.
Yes.
Because that'll be a new kind of shed spread that you will love. It'll burn out your eyes, and it'll go straight to where it counts and make you feel a happy camper. Anyway, I thank you for watching Life is Good. Thank you, Joel Shed. Watch for this name on the product line when you go to your health food stores in the future, because you're going to be surprised. And I've loved having you and Sabrina as my guests.
Thank you.
Give me a
It's
hug.
been a pleasure.
Yes,
Thank you
you're
very
a wonderful
much.
guy.
And
And
eat well, live long.
live long and don't eat my cooking.
No, it
Thanks
was
for
good. I
watching
had
Life
some
is-
this morning.
Paid
Just
to
got
say
hidden
that.
talents.
Mwah. Thanks so
Started
much.
going steady and bless my soul. He outbopped the buzzard and the Oreo. He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rock, rock, rockin' Robin, tweet.